Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into something I think you'll find really interesting, hiring tornado developers.
Ooh, yeah.
You know those Python wizards who can build apps that handle thousands of users? Like it's nothing.
It's pretty amazing what they can do.
It really is. And this skill set, it's becoming more and more in demand.
For sure.
But finding the right person can feel, well, a bit like a tornado itself.
Yeah.
For this mini deep dive, we're going to tackle the biggest questions people have about hiring tornado developers,
Sounds good.
all based on insights from the experts at theperfectdeveloper.com.
They really know their stuff.
They do. It's such a specialized area, and a lot of people, I think, don't even know where to begin.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why resources like theperfectdeveloper.com, they're so valuable.
Yeah.
They take all the mystery out of it.
Makes it so much easier.
It does. And speaking of making things easier, a quick reminder before we jump in.
Okay.
You can actually simplify your own developer search right now.
Oh, nice. By trying out the 5 questions tool over at theperfectdeveloper.com.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's a great way to make sure you're starting off on the right foot.
Definitely. Streamlines everything.
Okay, so let's get down to basics here.
Okay.
What exactly is a tornado developer? I was reading the Tornado Developers Playbook guide, and they called them like the superheroes of real-time web experiences.
You know what? That's a great analogy.
It is, right?
I mean, think about it. All those apps we use that never seem to lag,
Right?
no matter how many people are online,
Uh,
live sports updates, those collaborative tools, even like fast-paced online games.
yeah.
That's the magic of Tornado right there.
Yeah.
It's about building applications that can just scale to meet this world where everyone wants results like that.
Instantaneously.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the guide mentioned that they specialize in this Python framework that's specifically made for building apps that can handle like tons of users at once.
Right.
But how is that different from just your like average web developer?
That's where we get into this concept called asynchronous programming. Now, I know that sounds all technical.
Yeah.
But bear with me. Imagine you're cooking dinner. Instead of waiting for the water to boil, then chopping veggies, you do both at the same time.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. That's kind of like asynchronous programming. It lets the application do multiple things at once without slowing down.
So it's like multitasking, but for code.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is essential for building those super responsive apps we were talking about.
Makes sense.
A typical web developer might really struggle with that level of complexity.
Yeah.
But a Tornado developer, they're in their element.
They thrive on it.
They do.
Got it. So they're not just building websites. They're building apps that can handle serious traffic and keep everything running smoothly.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's say you're sold. You need a Tornado developer for your project. What are the key skills you should be looking for?
Okay, so the Tornado Developers Playbook Guide actually breaks this down really well. They highlight both the technical must-haves and then those all-important soft skills.
Yeah.
On the technical side, I mean, obviously you're looking for somebody fluent in Python,
Right.
comfortable working with those asynchronous libraries that we were talking about earlier.
Right. Makes sense. You wouldn't hire a plumber who didn't know how to use a wrench, right?
Exactly. But it's not just knowing the tools, it's knowing how to use them,
Uh-huh.
effectively.
Yeah.
That's where the soft skills are so important.
Yeah.
Problem solving, communication, that real knack for thinking outside the box.
Mm.
These are crucial for any Tornado developer.
Yeah. And, in the guide, one soft skill that really stuck out to me was adaptability.
Oh, yeah.
And I can see why. When you're dealing with these really complex systems and these like real-time demands, things are going to go wrong.
Things will go wrong.
You need someone who can roll with the punches.
Absolutely. I've seen firsthand how a lack of adaptability can just completely derail a project.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I remember this one time we had this developer, technically brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
but just couldn't handle it when things went off script.
Oh, no.
We ended up spending weeks troubleshooting this issue that a more adaptable developer could probably solve in a day.
Wow.
It was a painful lesson in how important those less tangible skills really are.
Right. Because reading code is one thing,
Yeah.
but actually making it work in the real world, that's a whole other thing.
Totally.
It's like the difference between knowing how to bake a cake from a recipe and being able to like whip something up on the fly when
Yeah.
you're missing ingredients.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And speaking of real world considerations, let's
Yeah.
talk about salary expectations.
Okay.
It's on everyone's mind when they're hiring.
Good question.
It is the question. And I know the guy touched on this, but
Yeah.
it's so tricky because there are just so many factors, right?
Right? It's not like you can just Google, like, average tornado developer salary and get a straight answer.
No.
Location, experience, the specific project,
Yeah.
it all makes a difference.
And that's where a resource like theperfectdeveloper.com can be so incredibly helpful. Okay. They have this fantastic database of salary trends and insights.
Oh, cool.
So you can get a realistic idea of what to expect based on your needs.
It makes sense.
They take all the guesswork out of it, which is such a relief, especially if you're, new to hiring developers.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you kind of have a handle on the skills you need. You've got a sense of the salary range.
Right.
Now comes another big decision.
Uh-oh, what's that?
The hiring model.
Oh, yeah.
Do you go full-time, freelance, or outsource?
Big choice.
Feels like a choose-your-own-adventure novel with no right or wrong answer.
I know, right? And the Tornado Developer Playbook Guide did a great job laying out those pros and cons of each one.
Yeah.
It really depends on your specific needs, your resources, all of that.
But if I remember correctly, they did highlight one particular challenge
Oh,
that often catches people off guard no matter which model they choose.
interesting. Okay.
It all comes down to managing remote teams effectively.
Yeah.
Especially across different time zones.
That's such a good point, and it gets overlooked so often. Communication is key in any development project.
Right.
But when you're dealing with asynchronous work, potentially, big time differences, things can get really lost in translation quickly if you're not super careful.
Oh, for sure. It's like playing a game of telephone, but with code and deadlines.
Exactly.
Oh, that's scary.
And that's why experience matters so much in this area.
Yeah.
The folks at theperfectdeveloper.com, for example,
Yeah.
they've really mastered the art of remote team management.
Okay.
They've got these systems in place to ensure smooth communication and collaboration, which is, honestly, it can be a lifesaver when you're trying to keep your project on track.
Oh, totally. So we've covered skills, salary, hiring models.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for the kind of the final boss,
Oh, okay.
the interview.
Right.
I found those interview question suggestions in the guide so helpful.
Yeah, there are some good ones.
There were a lot of great ones,
Mm.
but two really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
One was technical. It was digging into how Tornado's non-blocking I/O model works.
Ah, yeah. That's a classic. It's a great way to really gauge a candidate's depth of understanding.
So yeah,
I mean, it's one thing to know the syntax, but it's another to really grasp the underlying principles.
exactly. But then the other one that was really interesting was more behavioral.
Okay.
It asked about a time the developer faced a performance bottleneck and how they resolved it.
Oh, nice.
It's like a real-world test of their problem-solving skills under pressure.
That is such a smart question.
Right.
Because it goes beyond that theoretical knowledge. It shows you how they actually think, how they problem solve when things get tough.
Yeah, I bet it also gives you some insight into their communication style and how they, like, handle stressful situations.
Absolutely. I once interviewed this candidate who they aced all the technical questions, but then I asked about a real-world challenge, and their response was, well, let's just say it became very clear they weren't a team player.
Oh, wow.
That one question saved us from, honestly, a potentially disastrous hire.
That's amazing. That's a great example of how those behavioral questions can really uncover those hidden red flags.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's one last piece of the puzzle I think is worth mentioning about finding the right fit.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Fit. It's not just about technical skills, right?
Sure.
It's about finding someone who really aligns with your company culture,
Yeah.
your project goals,
Yeah.
your overall vision.
It's like putting together a puzzle,
Yeah.
You can have all the right pieces, but if they don't fit together just right,
Right.
the picture's not going to come together.
Exactly. And that's where having a trusted partner can make a world of difference. The folks at theperfectdeveloper.com,
Yeah.
they don't just connect you with developers.
They really take the time to understand your needs and find that perfect match. It's like having a matchmaking service, but for tech talent.
Oh, I love that. Matchmaking for tech talent.
Right.
Okay, so to wrap things up, we've learned that Tornado developers are these specialized folks who can build apps that can handle a ton of users all at once,
Yeah.
which is crucial in our real-time world.
Absolutely.
But finding the right one, it's more than just checking off technical skills on a resume.
No, it's not. You've got to consider those soft skills. Problem solving, communication, adaptability.
For sure.
And then there's that whole hiring model decision.
Right.
It can feel overwhelming, honestly, but
Yeah.
remember resources like theperfectdeveloper.com. They're there to help you.
Yeah.
They can guide you through every step from defining your project needs to finding that perfect match.
Exactly. Don't try to be a hero and go it alone. Hiring smart is just as important as hiring hard, right? So head over to theperfectdeveloper.com and try out those 5 questions. You might be surprised how quickly you can narrow down your search and find the tornado developer of your dreams.
It's a game changer for sure.
And hey, while you're there, keep an eye out for their insights on the future of tornado development.
Good idea.
There's a lot of buzz about how this technology is going to shape the way we interact online.
Yeah.
And let's just say things are about to get even more real-time. But that's a deep dive for another day.